brothers and sisters. So, just a little bit of a musing on prayer. This whole Heart Reach channel and Heart Reach WhatsApp groups are really about us trying to keep our fire stoked for meeting the Lord in prayer, and really to touch on topics associated with the spiritual life, the mystical life as taught by the church and the tradition, and as nourished by the Holy Scriptures. And so there is an article on contemplation that I always love to read, and it's by the abbot of a Benedictine monastery in Scotland, in a place called Pluscarden Abbey, and it's just so beautiful, this paragraph, and I kind of want to just read it for you and kind of go through it with you. But he was just saying that that anyone who takes their faith seriously is drawn by the idea of contemplative prayer, about just seeking God in silence and solitude, to be with him. When God has touched our hearts so deeply, we can't but long to keep searching for him, to long for him, to spend time with him. And I guess if that desire is not there, then it might be that we are cluttered with worldly distractions and temptations. Even those who are dry and feel nothing in prayer have this longing to be with God and try to carve out this space. So it's good for us to always take check, and I do the same of my heart. What is my longing for God like? What's my desire for God like? Is it being choked because I'm desiring so many other things? And there's that famous quote from Psalm 34, depending on which, anyway, taste and see how good is the Lord. And then this is a quote that has always been there in the tradition, comes up a lot about prayer. Taste and see that the Lord is good, because prayer is a sort of savoring, it's a sort of tasting, it's a sort of encountering the Lord and consuming God by prayer. It's about intimacy, it's about adoration, it's about being drawn into God and God lifting us up. God is not just an abstract idea, or a philosophical principle, or he's so close. As St. Augustine would always say, that he's intimus intimo meo. He's more intimate to ourselves than we are to ourselves. He's closer to us than we are to ourselves. But here's the paragraph that I love. He said, God made us. He sustains us in being. At every moment he loves us. We can speak to him directly. It's a simple line, but it's so true. I'm always amazed that I could talk to God directly, like without intermediaries. The most important person in the world, God, I can talk to him directly. I could be in touch with God. God hears my voice. God is my friend. God is my companion. St. Clement of Alexandria says, prayer is keeping company with God. It's the most fundamental definition. And so he wants us to do so. He wants us to talk to him directly, and because he wants to communicate himself, his life, his goodness, his abundance to us also. In contemplative prayer, we encounter God directly. We gaze on him, we worship him, we listen to him, we taste him, and we find the taste very sweet. And he's drawing here on Canticle, the Song of Songs. Anyone who has ever experienced just the faintest aroma, the teeniest hint of this taste, will know that it's better than all possible carnal delights this world could ever offer, all rolled together. That's so true. I think, like in the spiritual life, or as maybe priests, or maybe us generally as Catholics, I think we're not strong enough in telling people that there are delights in the spiritual life that outweigh sexual, any carnal delight. And that's why prayer and a life of prayer is able to sustain a celibate like myself, or maybe someone being called to the single life, or someone who has experienced a really terrible divorce and is left in this solitudeness, but is to turn to God, to try and really have God as the companion in that aspect, when they maybe experience that solitude, that loneliness. And so but the thing is, do we believe this? Do we believe that God is enough? That our relationship can be so nurtured with him that he can give us delights that outweigh all other delights, which is just the delight of knowing him and having our faith in him. So he says, like, to encounter God directly in prayer is to know joy beyond description. That's true. It's to encounter also absolute holiness, absolute love, the totality of all goodness, mercy, communion, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. In contemplative prayer with Mary, the sister of Martha, we stop chattering or doing anything else at all. We sit down at the feet of the Lord and direct our whole attention to him. There, says St. Teresa, somewhere, the great thing is not to think much, but to love much. And then contemplation, more than elsewhere, God touches us, he lifts us up to himself, he inspires us, he changes us, he strengthens us in faith and hope and love, and in all the other virtues. He communicates to us the gifts of the Holy Spirit, perhaps especially the gifts of wisdom and understanding. And then that famous line we'll end with, Psalm 26, one thing I have asked of the Lord, that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, that I may see the delight of the Lord and visit his holy temple.